All right, guys, injuries from the game. Javon Hargrave, he had a hamstring. Maybe a chance later in this week for this game. We'll just got to have to monitor to see how this week goes. Charvarius Ward, similar with his status for this week, and maybe towards the end of the week. We'll have to see how it goes, but he had a groin. Greenlaw, his hip/ankle, he's day-to-day. Warren Burks has some knee tendonitis. We'll probably have to shut him down here for a couple weeks. Updates from players who missed the game: Armstead, foot and knee, likely to be in the same boat this week as last week. Ross Dwelly, high ankle. We'll see how the week goes. Spencer Burford, hope to get him back this week. Darrell Luter, expect to have him back at practice on Wednesday. And Elijah Mitchell, also hoping to get him back this week too. So I guess.
Hey, Kyle, what's the expectation for Jason Verrett that you've conveyed to him? Do you hope to get him on the field this season, or is he insurance? What have you kind of figured out as far as what his role is going to be coming to the practice squad?
Right now, just coming in, being on the practice squad, showing us where he's at, being a part of our team that way. And when you're on the practice squad, you're only a couple of plays away from possibly being a starter or just being out there on game day. So he's going to try to show us he's ready for that moment and hopefully give us some depth here once we get a chance to see him.
Kyle, any updates of your talk with maybe Deommodore Lenoir about being ejected from the game last night?
Yeah, he reached out to me last night. I mean, he already knew how we'd feel about it. That's something we feel very strong about. We'll play as physical as anyone in this league, but we never go anywhere past what football is. And I love how he's got all his guys' backs and everything, but everyone else on our team has their backs also, and that's not what we do. We don't throw punches to get penalties, and we definitely don't do it to get ejected. So he was very remorseful of it, and I believe it was a good lesson learned. I think it'll be much better about that in the future.
Outside of that, how did
Kyle,
how'd you feel about his play last night, especially with Charvarius Ward being out?
Oh, I thought he played great. We started out expecting to be nickel for most of that game. Mooney going down there on the second play, we had to switch it real fast, and he didn't even hesitate. He challenged the receivers all game, was able to come up with that interception that Nick took away from him. And then he almost had that first one that he had that just deflected off his hands. So I thought Demo was unbelievable in the game.
Kyle, what's your reaction to moving into the number one spot for the NFC playoffs, and how are you guys going to maintain that spot the next 2 weeks?
Not much of a reaction. I mean, I'll have a reaction when it is the number one spot, if it is, because that's when the season ends. Right now, it doesn't mean much; it just means where you're at now. And I know we won't be that if we don't handle business this week. So that's really all we're worried about this week, and then we'll do who we play after that.
Kyle, Christian said after the game that the offense was a little sloppy. I'm going to assume you know what he's talking about regarding that, but the fact that that may be true, and you had 527 yards and averaged 9.9 yards a play, and there are other statistics against the defense that knows you pretty well. Does that say something about where this offense is? And I don't know, that maybe there's more to come as far as you guys haven't peaked?
I mean, I think we made a lot of good plays, and we got a lot of good players out there, and we were able to score 28 points. But, I think, when you have 11 yards per play at halftime and you only got 14 points, and then we get the ball a number of drives and we're only able to get 2 scores there in the second, and you look at all the yards and the stats and stuff, I feel like you should have more to show for it. And fortunately, our defense was able to come up with that pick at the end and not let them get back into it. But I thought there were some opportunities in the first half we missed, mainly with the, just getting off on that drive with the interception. And then in the fourth quarter, I thought we had, they went down and scored and made it 21-16. It was a great job stopping them on the 2-point conversion, because it would have been a 3-point game like that going into the fourth. That was our biggest drive on offense because we scored right away and answered. So we took it right back to a 2-score drive or 2-score game. And then we got a huge pick by Jair, which that's our time to finish someone on offense. And we got a big play going down, and we ended up having that fumble, which gave them the life back there. So it's We got 3.5 minutes to go, and they still got the ball, and they're only down 2 scores. So we made it a lot closer than I feel like it should have been, and we should have put that away. That's why I think it felt a little sloppy.
Kyle, did you have a chance to talk to Mitch Wishow about his decision to run?
No, I haven't talked to him because when I came in today, I heard it from the coaches and stuff, and pretty much how I expected it to go with using the word mate in there and stuff like that. So I think it went that way, and Mitch is a hell of an athlete, didn't hesitate on it. It was awesome. It was a really cool play. Glad I got my first fake punt in. Even though it didn't count.
Kyle, I know you were asked about the runoff at the end of the second quarter yesterday, but you were still, I think, might not have this exactly right. I think there were 23 seconds left. They were going to be at the 7, and you had 3 timeouts. Why didn't you call, a timeout there and make them punt?
Well, like I was trying to say last night, that I didn't like the decision to do the 10-second runoff, and I was regretting that. But then I felt, man, I could still use these 3 timeouts after this, depending on how this play goes. I wouldn't want to do that necessarily if they got a big play and stuff. I mean, last thing I want at that time is for them to launch it up and get a big go route or just a PI and give them momentum going into halftime that I feel we really have at that moment. But once we got that intentional grounding, I did regret that 10-second runoff. But I was so shocked once I saw the clock running after the incompletion of the 10-second runoff that I spent 8 seconds trying to talk to the ref about how it shouldn't be running off. And then by that time, I was already down to 30, and I was like, oh, now I'm not going to do it. So you know what? We might as well get out of here safe, not give them a chance to launch one up and get a PI or anything, and we'll go in because I think we got the momentum. But I definitely it's not a 100% decision on whether to go that way. That's why I wasn't getting much advice on it because our analytics thought it could go either way at that time. But I definitely wish I would have done it differently. But when I got confused on the time rule on that, I just felt it was a little too late, and I was like, you know what, let's not get picky here now. Let's just try to go into this halftime up 14-10.
Kyle, on Christian's long run at the beginning of the game there, Brock, you can see Brock kind of run down the field as the play is happening at full speed there. Is there a reason that he's attempting to do something there, or is it just pure excitement?
I think at first it's because he thought he could get in on the block, and you see his change of pace about 50 yards away once he realistically realized he couldn't. And then he picked it up again, I think, because he was just excited to get down there and celebrate with them. But you never know with Brock. You can ask him. He's trying to do everything he can.
Kyle, this is not a new topic, but Aiyuk's blocking, it just seemed to – it was obviously there on the Christian 72-yard run, but other instances on big runs, I think Christian's 20-yard run and Deebo's 25-yard run, where he just had excellent blocks. Is he continuing to improve in that area, or is that kind of a standard performance for him, in blocking?
I think he's been doing it pretty consistently. I mean, you guys think back to the Pittsburgh game in week 1 and the 60-something yarder Christian got, I think, in the first play of the third quarter or whatever it was. I mean, Aiyuk's leading that whole way with Ray on the backside. I think it's rare that one of our guys don't do that on a play. There's not many plays that kind of get in that situation where it can look so cool and show everyone how hard they're working. But I think if you look in all of our games, it's one of the plays in I think it's like a 20-yard run to the left by Christian. And I think he broke about 20 yards, and the middle third safety ran him out of bounds. But if he wouldn't have run him out of bounds and he got by him, look at what Deebo's doing on the backside and the angle he's taking to run in the end zone with the only corner left. You just don't see it because they don't break it. But I feel like if that happened, you'd see whoever our player was in that situation. I think Juwan does it all the time. And go back to Ray versus Pittsburgh. It's one of our guys don't do it, they're going to stick out to the other guys.
Kyle, with Deebo, and you look back as to when he kind of started this role as both a running back and a wide receiver, do you remember when you first realized that he could really do this and implemented it?
His rookie year, we started giving him runs. I remember his week 1 versus Tampa Bay, which was his rookie year. We put in a play called X-Force, which was because Deebo was the X. He's been Z for the last 4 years, but he was X then, and that's why we came up with the whole Deadpool package. And that goes back to Deebo's rookie game. So we always thought he could run. We just didn't realize how much we would do it. And we used it sporadically throughout that year. But we really got into it in 21 when we had all the injuries at back. And every time we gave him more handoffs, he just kept doing better and better at it. So that's when the role really picked up, because when him and Elijah in our run game and what we had committed to really those last 6 games that year, really, I felt what led us to the NFC Championship game. And he still does it at times. You know, we got a lot of other good running backs too, but Deebo's a guy you want the ball in his hands, and the only way you can guarantee that the ball is in someone's hands is to hand it off to him.
Kyle, how's your perception? Following up on that, it seems like the last couple of games when you've needed a little spark, it seems like you've gotten it to Deebo. Is that something you're doing on purpose, or is it just kind of the way it's played out?
I mean, we always try to get to Deebo to get a spark. I mean, if you look since he's been around, but our other choices too. If we go to Christian at the time, George, B.A., Juwan, anybody, they all can give sparks. It's kind of depends on what teams are playing, how they're playing us. Deebo's also strung together a number of healthy weeks here over this last month, which has allowed him really to get back into the groove of things and be more consistent and just being out there and not having to sub him quite as much, and him kind of being ready for all this stuff. So it's awesome when you can put him there, and the more he does it, the more people are going to focus extremely hard to take those away, because if he isn't a good look, that's usually the results you get. And the more we can get people to take Deebo away, there's nothing against Deebo. That means he's a threat, and that makes things easier for other guys. So it really should be ebb and flow like that throughout a year, based off the guys we have and distributing it.
With Ray McLeod out for a little bit longer, do you plan on having Deebo doing kickoff returns, continuing to do it?
Most likely. That wasn't just a decision with Ray being out. It was also a decision we were thinking about going to regardless. Nothing against Ray or anyone. It was just more ways to get a special player like Deebo the ball in his hands. So we got to take that risk reward every week. We've decided to do it the last 2 weeks, and we'll come up with that decision each week here going forward.